Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us in
Thank
London.
you, Sarah.
Pleasure to be here.
Maybe we could kick off with a brief intro. What can people expect from American fiction?
Oh, they can expect first and foremost a few laughs,
Yes.
more than a few laughs, and a story that will also move them emotionally. We go from a world of absurdity and satire to a world of family life that's emotional, but also recognizable, I think, to audiences, both sides of the film. So, as they say, there's a little something for everyone in this.
Yeah. I would say, in addendum to all those things that Mr. Wright just mentioned, there is he mentioned them all. Like, really and truly, I'm trying to think of what other spin that I can put on it other than it is a very human film. And so, like, we don't want to scare anybody off by like labeling it as a black film, even though there are black people front and center in the narrative. It is a very human story that we believe everyone can see themselves inside of, right? And the root of the story is about representation and how the swath of representation has been very narrow with regards to black life, and sort of showing a broader representation so that when people encounter us, they don't say that you're not like the others, because you haven't seen enough of them to know what the others are like. So I'll add that little tidbit.
And as we were mentioning there, the thing that really struck me is just this incredibly unique tone. And it does just move so seamlessly from this biting satire through to tragedy, these really comedic moments and then really poignant moments. And particularly in your two characters' interactions. I mean, they've got that brotherly thing. They know how to really hit each other's insecurities and also really wind each other up. How did you find working together and working on that dynamic?
Well, for whatever reason, it came pretty easily. Sterling's a brilliant actor, smart, committed, and came to play, came to get down. That's what you want. And so we all were, everyone, including the two of us, passionate about telling this story. Thought it was a smart script. Thought it was a script that was talking about issues that are important to the day, and thought it was doing it in a way that was, as you say, unique in its tone and funny. And so we just dove into it, and had a ball doing it. And I'm an only child, so I didn't have a reference for the sibling thing, but Monk desperately wants to be an only child, my character. So, even that bit helped.
Let me see this microphone, man. I am a brother, and I'm the youngest of three biological, and I have a little brother and little sister who are adopted. So I definitely grew up understanding that dynamic. My older brother is actually 14 years older than me. He's a little bit older than Jeffrey. And so I could draw on that. He's a little bit older than Jeffrey. Yeah. Just a little bit. And so I'm used to that dynamic of messing with him. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if I told you this, every once in a while, he's not a very affectionate dude. So I'll tease him when I go to hug him or something. He'll be like, ah. And so when I kissed you on the forehead, I was like, that's pretty much, my brother would have just been like, he just kissed me on the forehead. It came pretty naturally, yeah.
And in terms of the takeaways and how the film's landed, I mean, it is pretty out there. It is in your face. It's not afraid to make audiences uncomfortable, and it can Hollywood really laugh at itself.
Yeah.
The fact that we've had all these nominations, these accolades, does it show that maybe it can? Are you surprised about how it's been received?
Well, I do think, as you say, we're not afraid. Right. So we're not afraid of this conversation, but I'm not afraid to have a laugh at these issues. I think that's helpful. I think, too, that there is a perception that this conversation, which is being had in many parts of our country and many parts of the world around race and otherness and identity, and whether it be around immigration or what have you, I think there's a conversation that's being had, not necessarily being had well. And I think that that the ways in which we approach this, are an invitation to join us and and maybe be a little more productive. You know, maybe have a conversation that leads to problem solving in some ways. But we kind of, you know, we take the edge off by having a little self-criticism as well. You know, we don't take ourselves too seriously. But I think that, getting back to your point about Hollywood having a laugh at itself, I think that there's an idea among some parts of society or societies that these are criticisms that only one side has.
Right.
But there's a self-awareness, maybe even in Hollywood, that, you know, maybe we can approach these issues in a better way. Maybe we can create a more inclusive, more just representation of various peoples in a better way.
Yeah.
The conversation around diversity and inclusion that we're having in America, one section of the population doesn't want to have that conversation at all, wants to make it disappear. That's why they're talking about it. Yeah. It's not because they want to do it better. But I think internal to those who are trying to, you know, problem solve around these issues, I think there is some self-criticism that is recognized. And we're welcoming of all groups. Yeah. Come in, because we're not going to let these issues go away. We want to see if we can maybe advance the cause a little bit and be a bit more productive.
I'm reminded of a comment. I did a TV show a while ago, and my character is married to a black woman, and he was going to have an affair. And they said, like, we wanted to sort of mix it up and whatnot and make your character have an affair with a white woman. And I said, I think we may alienate some of the audience and whatnot. And they said, we thought it would be too much on the nose if you have an affair with a black woman. I was like, yeah, but you're taking the job away from a sister. Like, let it be a sister. Like, you'll probably catch much less backlash. And so I mean that in terms of well-intentioned, thoughtful people who think that they are doing the right thing by sort of like saying, like, it should be a white woman in this case, right?
Be diverse.
To be diverse, right? And so the idea here is that Hollywood oftentimes thinks that we're way ahead of the rest of the country in terms of what representation should look like. And then there's this thing called implicit bias, where you don't even know that sometimes you are culpable of the way in which people are being perceived because you think you're always right. And so just sort of like, even, I think the invitation to laugh at, like, oh snap, do we always cast black people in this particular way? I don't even know how conscious folks are oftentimes of the way in which they are affecting the way people see us because of the images they put out into the world. And I think the laugh at that is sort of also an aha kind of laugh of, like, we could be doing this better, you know?
At the end of the day, you know, what we may be saying is, you know, you're kind of idiotic, right? And that always makes people feel comfortable about themselves.
Well,
anything that helps.
I'm out of time, but thank you so much for sharing all that with me. And I really cannot wait for everyone to see American Fiction. And of course, best of luck with those nominations.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sarah.